Here's the instant reset for a stuck mind. In the next 60 seconds, switch your brain from blocked to brave with a simple novelty-and-action combo that sparks dopamine and momentum on demand. Step 1. Break your loop. Change your input with a tiny dose of newness. A different track, a new view, a fresh question, to jolt the midbrain's novelty circuit and reignite reward drive. Step 2. Apply the 2-minute rule. Start the smallest possible version of the task right now to flip intention into motion and let progress pull motivation forward. In this video, learn a rapid protocol to interrupt rumination, trigger curiosity, and stack quick wins that compound into flow, even on low-energy days. No hacks, just a brain-aligned way to get inspired on command and finish what matters, starting in 2 minutes. Right now, the brain isn't broken, it's buffered. When the mind locks, the problem isn't talent, it's state. Here is the deal. Give 60 seconds and run a neurologically sound reboot that flips threat into curiosity and inertia into motion. Sit tall, plant both feet, inhale through the nose, sip a little more air, then exhale long through the mouth. Switch the soundtrack, shift the lighting, change the angle of vision. Snap right hand, snap left hand, clap once to synchronize rhythm. Ask one specific question. What would make this fun in 90 seconds? Then start the smallest visible move. Title the file, write one messy sentence, draw one box. Momentum replaces doubt when action arrives first. This isn't motivation theater. It is a fast pattern interrupt that calms the nervous system, wakes novelty circuits, and gives the prefrontal cortex a task it can win. Watch closely. The reset happens on camera. Follow it, and the system boots into clarity. The 60-second brain reboot. Here is the on-ramp, and it starts with control, not hype. Sit or stand tall with both feet grounded. Inhale through the nose for 4 counts, then add a small sip of air, and exhale through the mouth for 6. Do 3 cycles to signal safety to the nervous system and stop the background alarm that makes everything feel harder than it is. While exhaling, roll shoulders back twice and draw small circles with the neck, one each side, to release the micro-tension that compresses working memory. Now flip the inputs with intent. Face a window or soften a harsh overhead light. Put on a clean instrumental beat at low volume to give the brain predictable rhythm without lyrics hijacking inner speech. Set a visible 60-second timer where the eyes can track it. Right hand snap, left hand snap, single clap center. Keep the pattern steady to anchor bilateral attention. This rhythm is not for show. It gives scattered thoughts a metronome and moves energy from rumination to action. Ask the question out loud because language shapes trajectory. What is the smallest move that proves I have started? No debates, no bargaining. Pick one move that is visible and objective. Name the file. Write one line that is ugly but true. Draw one box on the canvas. Press record on the voice memo and speak the first sentence. Start while the timer is moving because time pressure closes the gap between intention and motion. Perfection will try to interrupt. Perfection is a delay tactic disguised as standards. Keep it messy by design. The goal here is ignition, not elegance. When the urge to fix or format kicks in, mark it for later with a single bracket and keep moving. The brain needs a win signal, not a lecture. Use the environment as a co-pilot. If seated, plant the feet and lift the sternum 1 centimeter. If standing, shift weight slightly forward to cue readiness. If the mind is buzzing, exhale longer than the inhale for 2 cycles. If energy feels low, stand and shake the hands for 5 seconds. These are small levers that flip internal state faster than abstract motivation. The soundtrack does heavy lifting too. Choose something with a steady tempo and minimal melodic surprises. Lyrics pull verbal bandwidth. Instrumentals free it. Keep volume low enough that the breath and snaps still lead. The timer is the third lever. It must be visible. A countdown focuses attention and ends in decision. When the numbers fall, the mind follows. Now lock the loop with a micro-proof. At 30 seconds, glance at the tiny output. A file name exists. A sentence is on the page. A sketch is drawn. That proof updates self-perception from stuck to started. Identity is a system. It updates with evidence. Evidence arrives through action. Action arrives when friction is cut. Friction drops when inputs change and rhythm leads. That is exactly what just happened. Close the minute by pinning the win. Say it plainly, I have started. That statement is not a mantra. It is a status report. Take one deep inhale, sip a little extra air, exhale long, and look again at the output. The brain learns what it does. It will be ready to repeat. If doubt reappears, run the same minute one more time. Same breath, same rhythm, same smallest move. Redundancy is not failure. It is how circuits strengthen. Each repetition lowers the activation energy for the next task. If anxiety spikes, lengthen the exhale slightly and soften the jaw. If lethargy creeps in, stand and switch the track to a slightly faster tempo. Keep the timer honest. When it hits 0, stop. Mark the win. Then either roll directly into the next 2 minutes of microbuild or save that energy for the next chapter. The purpose of this reboot is not to finish the project. The purpose is to regain the wheel. With the wheel back in hand, momentum becomes a choice, not a miracle. That is the door we just opened. Step through it now. Why inspiration feels offline. The feeling of being stuck is not a lack of creativity. It is a network conflict. When the internal narrative is too loud and the task feels uncertain, the brain tilts toward the default mode and drifts into self-referential loops. That is when thoughts replay, energy dips, and time slips without visible progress, giving the sensation that inspiration went missing. The system is not failing. It is prioritizing inward processing over outward action, which is useful for reflection, but terrible for ignition when a blank page is staring back. Here is what flips the switch. The salient system acts like a circuit breaker that detects what matters now and hands control to executive networks. When a clear cue, small challenge, or time-bound start appears, attention pivots from wandering to doing. Intrinsic motivation then blooms not from hype, but from the act of engaging a concrete step, which suppresses rumination and stabilizes focus. That is why novelty, time pressure, and visible micro-wins instantly feel energizing. They tell the salience network to reroute resources to what is actionable in this moment. This also explains why waiting for motivation backfires. Motivation tends to rise after motion begins, not before. Once the first step produces a tangible outcome, the brain updates the story from stuck to started and releases a small reward signal that invites the next move. The conflict fades because internal narrative finds a new anchor in present progress. With each tiny completion, the system trusts the task more, the chatter quiets, and inspiration feels available again because it rides on clarity and control, not on a perfect mood. A practical reframe helps on contact. Feeling offline is a sign to change state, not to push harder from the same state. Shift one sensory channel, define one smallest proof of start, and put a short clock on it. That 3-step handoff engages salience, recruits executive control, and temporarily downshifts the default network, creating the experience of mental air returning to the room. Do not negotiate with thoughts during this minute. Give the brain a target it can hit and let the hit update the narrative. That is how inspiration becomes a byproduct of action rather than a prerequisite for it. For deeper work, accept that the default mode is not the enemy. It is a powerful tool for ideas, memory, and future simulation. The aim is not to shut it down, but to time it. Use it upstream to explore, then pivot into execution with a crisp trigger so the networks do not fight each other. When the task demands a big context switch, expect a brief wobble as the brain renegotiates control. That wobble is normal. Anchor it with a pattern interrupt and a visible win. The feeling of being offline fades as fast as the system sees proof of progress. Novelty trigger, not motivation. Here is the move that flips the day. Stop waiting to feel ready and trigger novelty first. The brain wakes up for what is new, specific, and slightly challenging. When the mind feels flat, that isn't a character flaw. It's a predictable state signature. So inject a controlled dose of newness that is safe, quick, and concrete. Change one sensory input on purpose, then pose a precise constraint that forces a fresh angle. Ask a better question. What would make this fun in 90 seconds? That line does 3 things at once. It shrinks the horizon, removes perfection as a requirement, and invites play, which lowers threat and lifts curiosity. Curiosity is an ignition fuel. It doesn't ask for a perfect mood, only for a spark the system can chase. Once engaged, momentum carries what motivation refused to start. Make novelty deliberate, not chaotic. Think of it as a switchboard. Dial one change in place, one change in process, one change in perspective. In place means alter light, sound, or body position for a momentary reset. In process means apply a new micro-rule that disrupts the usual stall pattern. In perspective means rotate the problem a quarter turn with a single strange prompt. Concrete examples help. Write the worst first line on purpose to break reverence. Storyboard the task in 3 boxes instead of paragraphs. Narrate the task out loud before writing anything. Each maneuver opens a route your usual routine hides. The key is small and reversible. Keep the novelty dose light so attention sharpens rather than scatters. Treat novelty like a match, not a bonfire. Light it, then aim it at one tiny visible step that can be finished without negotiation. Start before the novelty fades. Name the file, outline 3 beats, list 1 outcome and 1 obstacle. The brain craves closure. Provide it quickly. That closure is the win signal that tells the system, this is working. Now ride the gain. The next action becomes easier because confidence updates after proof, not before. This is why inspiration can feel like it suddenly returns. It tracks progress, not promises. Handle the inner objections with calm technique. If the thought says this is too small to matter, answer with action, not debate. Small steps matter because identity updates are binary. Did the action happen or not? If the thought says this must be perfect, respond with a rule. Ugly first, clean later. If the thought says there isn't time, set a 90-second clock and prove it wrong in real time. Novelty plus a short timer beats hesitation because it replaces a vague future with a present target. When the timer ends, stop, breathe, look at the tiny result, and ask a second question. What is the next smallest move that keeps this alive? Then do it. Layer novelty only when attention dips again, not constantly. This preserves stability while keeping the spark available on demand. Carry this principle across domains without changing its DNA. Creative work. Swap medium for a minute, sketch before words, speak before typing. Study, switch question order, teach a micro-explanation to an empty room, write the answer before reading notes. Planning. Start with a single constraint. Plan the worst-case route first, then replace one weak step. Fitness. Change tempo, change grip, change stance for one set. The structure remains. Minimal novelty to wake attention, immediate action to capture the wakefulness, quick closure to bank the win. This is not a motivational speech. It is how to manufacture a spark and convert it into motion anytime inspiration feels out of reach. The result is a reliable loop. Spark, step, signal, repeat. The loop keeps working because it respects how the brain actually engages. Trigger novelty first, and motivation follows motion. Microshift protocol. Move, sound, light. Here is the fastest way to change the way the brain feels without fighting thoughts head-on. Change the channel through the body, the room, and the soundscape in under 30 seconds. Start with posture, because posture is state. Stand or sit tall, feet grounded, crown lifted, jaw soft. This alignment signals safety and readiness, which immediately lowers background stress and frees working memory. Now move with intent. Roll shoulders back twice to open the chest, rotate the neck in a slow half arc each side to release head tension, shake hands for 5 seconds to discharge microstress. This is not ritual, it is switch flipping. Movement is the lever that quiets rumination because it gives the nervous system a clear job. Adjust the light next. If under harsh overheads, angle the face toward a softer source, ideally a window or a warm lamp placed to the side. If the environment feels sleepy, increase brightness slightly and reduce visual clutter in the field of view. Light calibrates alertness. A small change nudges the brain away from mind-wandering into engaged presence. Now, address sound. Lyrics hijack inner speech, so pick a simple instrumental with a steady tempo at low volume. Keep it predictable. Think of the track as scaffolding for attention, not entertainment. If energy is too high and scattered, use a slower tempo and a deeper tone bed to stabilize. If energy is flat, raise tempo a notch and add subtle percussive rhythm to cue motion. Set a visible 60 to 90-second timer and place it within the line of sight without dominating attention. A countdown compresses decision time and turns intention into an immediate target. While the timer runs, add a bilateral rhythm to sync attention. Snap right, snap left, clap center. Keep it slow and even for 10 seconds to anchor both hemispheres into the same task. This bilateral cue is a bridge from thought to action, a way of saying now to the entire system without drama or argument. With the body primed, the light tuned, and the sound set, the brain is ready for a micro-commitment that counts. Pick one smallest visible action tied to the task and execute it now. Name the file with a clear verb and noun. Write one ugly first line that states the outcome in plain language. Draw one box to represent the first beat of the plan. Record a single sentence that states the problem you are solving. Do not evaluate, polish, or format. The point is to place a concrete signal in the world that says "started." This signal is the psychological handbrake release. It redistributes attention from self-monitoring to doing. Keep the hands moving, not the thoughts debating. If perfection interjects, respond with a rule. Ugly first, clean later. Then continue. Use micro-variations to maintain the shift without flooding the senses. If attention dips, pivot the chair 15 degrees or switch the focal distance by glancing to a distant point for 2 breaths, then back to the task. If the music fades into the background too much, nudge volume up a single notch, or swap to a track in the same tempo family. If the light feels flat, slide the lamp a palm width to create soft contrast. These nudges matter because they refresh salience without breaking flow. The trick is small and reversible. Too much change produces noise. The right dose produces clarity. Close the protocol by banking a visible win. When the timer hits 0, stop. Breathe in through the nose, sip an extra bit of air, exhale long, and look at the output. Say it out loud. Started. This is not theatrics. It is reinforcement. The brain learns from what it can see and hear. That one word anchors identity to action rather than intention. If momentum is present, roll directly into the next 90 seconds and repeat the smallest step cycle. If momentum is fragile, pause for one breath and choose the next micro step before restarting the timer. Consistency beats force. You are not chasing a mood. You are calibrating a system. Carry this protocol anywhere with minimal tools. Headphones, a pocket timer, a pen, a blank note. Move, sound, light, then the smallest proof. That sequence clips the loop of overthinking and primes a state where attention cooperates. Run it before creative work, study, planning, or any task that triggers avoidance. With repetition, the association becomes automatic. Protocol equals progress. When stuckness returns, do not analyze. Reset the scene and start the minute. The state follows the setup, and action follows the state. That is the point. You just taught the brain how to switch on demand. 2-minute momentum engine. Here is how to turn a tiny start into a reliable engine that keeps pulling forward without drama. Lock a 2-minute window and treat it like a contract. The rule is simple. Do the smallest visible step for the full 2 minutes, then stop on purpose, even if there is fuel left. Stopping while it still feels easy trains the brain to crave the return, not to fear the work. This flips the expectation from fatigue to anticipation. Pick a step that is undeniably concrete. Write one paragraph, outline 3 beats, gather one source, sketch one frame, clean one data row, rename 5 files. Keep the scope bite-sized and win-proof. The point is to accumulate proof, not to chase a perfect mood. Set a timer and protect the block like a vault. No tabs, no notifications, no negotiations. If a thought tries to pull attention away, write a single word placeholder in brackets and keep moving. This stops detours from becoming delays. Start with a one-line checkpoint that declares the micro-objective for the next 120 seconds. Saying it out loud sharpens intent and cuts rumination. Then move the hands immediately. Hands moving is the best signal that thinking has become doing. When momentum rises, resist the urge to widen scope. Narrow wins compound faster than scattered effort. The brain bonds with what is repeated and completed. Use a ramp and a runway. The ramp is the first 20 seconds. Breathe in through the nose, sip a bit more air, exhale long, then put the cursor where the work begins. The runway is the final 10 seconds. Finish the current sentence or stroke. Do not start a new one. This ending ritual matters. It protects energy and makes re-entry effortless because the next step is obvious. Momentum loves obvious. Pair the end with a quick status tag. Next action, 1 sentence. This becomes the launch key when the next 2 minutes begin. No spinning wheels, no warm-up tacks, just immediate motion. Calibrate difficulty to stay under the strain threshold. If 2 minutes feels heavy, shrink the task. not the timer. If it feels trivial, increase the challenge slightly within the same window. The aim is sustainable friction, not grind. A good test is breath. If breathing tightens, lighten the step. If attention drifts, add a micro-constraint like time-boxing a single sub-sentence, drawing a shape before words, or limiting choices to 3. Constraints remove indecision. Indecision is where energy leaks. Keep the lane narrow and progress stays smooth. Chain 2 or 3 of these cycles and count them as a set. Between cycles, take a deliberate 20-second reset. Stand, shake hands, look at a distant point, then refocus on the exact next move written at the end of the last cycle. This is active recovery for cognition. It preserves freshness without losing rhythm. After a set, pause for a longer 1-minute reset, then decide, continue for one more set, or bank the win and route to the next priority. Never erase the 2-minute frame. It is the metronome that makes discipline feel light and repeatable. Handle resistance with technique, not force. If the inner critic appears, thank it mentally and point it at the later review phase. If boredom shows up, switch the input slightly. New track in the same tempo, small change in light angle, tiny posture adjustment. If anxiety spikes, lengthen the exhale for 2 breaths and return to the hands. The engine runs on visible action and short horizons. Keep both in view. 2 minutes is the door. Walk through it often and it stops feeling like a trick and starts feeling like identity. Doers do. This is how doing becomes default. When the timer ends, stop clean, note the next micro move, breathe once, and decide with intention. Start another block if momentum is alive. If not, you still banked a win, and wins are what stack into finished. The one strange question. Here is the pivot that turns resistance into curiosity in under 2 minutes. Ask a single, precise question out loud and let it shape the next move. What would make this fun in 90 seconds? That wording matters. Fun lowers perceived threat, 90 seconds limits the horizon, and the question demands action instead of analysis. Say it clearly, then listen without forcing an answer. The brain searches faster when the target is vivid and time-bound. Now, translate the answer into one visible move. If the task is writing, give yourself permission to write the worst first line on purpose. If it is planning, sketch 3 boxes and label them start, middle, end. If it is studying, teach a single concept to an imaginary beginner standing in front of you. The goal is not brilliance. The goal is ignition. Fun reframes the task as a small game, and games invite moves. Moves invite momentum. Rejection of this question often arrives disguised as sophistication. It will say that fun is unserious, that urgency is better, that grit is the only way forward. That is a trap. Fun here is not entertainment, it is friction reduction. Curiosity is the cheapest lever to unlock attention, and attention drives everything. Make the question your switch. Whisper it when energy dips, speak it when avoidance grows, write it on the top of the page before starting. If the mind answers with nothing, impose a playful constraint. Write in 10-word sentences only for 1 minute. Draw the problem using only triangles. Limit ideas to absurd options for 30 seconds, then choose the most workable one. Constraints sharpen edges. Edges cut through fog. The second move is to protect the answer from overthinking. Once the fun angle appears, launch immediately into a 90-second micro-sprint. Set a timer in plain sight. Keep your body involved. Count the first 5 seconds on your fingers to commit physically to the start. Then do the smallest version of the fun variation. Record a quick voice note describing what you will do. Swap the keyboard for a pen for 1 minute. Stand while sketching the outline. The brain reads these physical cues as green lights and allocates energy accordingly. Momentum expands within motion, not before it. Use this question to neutralize perfection. If perfection interrupts, ask a sister question. What would make this safe to do badly right now? Safety kills hesitation. When the system knows it cannot fail, it starts. When it starts, the emotional weather improves because control returns. Mark the tiny win the moment it appears. Say, started. Pair that with one short note about the next obvious step. This ensures the next entry feels inviting instead of vague. Vague is the enemy. Specific is the path. Rotate the question across domains to keep it alive. Creative work. Switch tools, switch scale, switch pace for a minute. Research. Hunt for a surprising statistic first, then build context. Code. Write a failing test on purpose, then fix it. Fitness. Choose a single movement and play with tempo. Each time, the same engine runs. Ask, answer, act, anchor. Expect your mood to catch up to your motion. If the answer feels silly, that is a good sign. Silly breaks reverence. Reverence stalls progress. Close each 90-second burst by extracting one seed for the next step. Write one line that starts with next. Keep it visible. This makes the question self-sustaining because it always has a handhold to grab. If energy dips again, repeat the sequence without apology. Repetition is not redundancy, it is training. The neural path to action gets faster every time the question leads to a move. Soon the ritual becomes automatic. Stuck stops being a verdict and becomes a signal. The signal says, ask better. You know what to ask. What would make this fun in 90 seconds? Answer it, move once, and let the system do what it was built to do. Attention clusters. That stick here is how to make attention stay without forcing it. Build the video and the work session in micro payoffs that arrive on a predictable beat. Every 30 to 45 seconds, deliver something the brain can count as a win. A clear step finished, a surprising angle revealed, a before to after shift shown on screen. Think of it like laying stepping stones across a river. Each stone must be close enough that the next step feels obvious. Too far, and hesitation returns. Too close, and it feels trivial. The sweet spot is a small challenge followed by a visible completion. That rhythm keeps curiosity engaged and fatigue low because the brain loves closure and expects the next one soon. Design clusters with an open loop in the first third, a payoff in the middle, and a handoff at the end. The open loop raises a question worth answering now, not later. The payoff shows the answer cleanly with no fluff. The handoff points to the next question so attention has a place to land. In narration, signal the shift with tight language. Here's the move, watch this, now do this next. In visuals, mark transitions with a subtle angle change, a gentle audio cue, or a quick on-screen timer that resets without fanfare. Keep the sensory changes deliberate and minimal. The goal is to refresh, not distract. When viewers can predict a new reward soon, they stay. When rewards vanish, they drift. Use contrast to heighten each cluster without adding noise. Juxtapose stalled versus started, vague versus specific, messy versus clear. Show the tiniest artifact of progress at each beat. A file named, a sentence typed, a box drawn, a timer completed. Layer stakes lightly by reminding what this unlocks next. Clarity for the next step, confidence to attempt the harder piece, momentum that spills into the rest of the day. These micro-meaning cues matter because the mind is counting not just outputs, but why the outputs matter. Keep the why short and present tense. This removes friction now, this opens the next door, this proves the system works. Guard against 3 common drop-offs. The novelty dump, too many flashy changes that scatter focus. The plateau, staying in one micro-state too long without a fresh question. The cliff, paying off an open loop with nothing cued next. Solve them with a light touch. If energy spikes, slow the tempo for one beat to let the reward land. If energy dips, insert a single strange prompt to reawaken curiosity. If a payoff approaches, seed the next hook 2 lines early so the handoff is felt, not forced. Keep your voice steady and grounded. Authority comes from clarity, not volume. Close each cluster by tagging the next smallest action so the path never goes dark. Say it, show it, start it. When you narrate, let the final sentence of the cluster be the exact launch key for the next one. Then execute a tiny piece of it on camera to prove continuity. Over time, the audience learns the cadence and relaxes into the flow because wins keep arriving and the next step is always within reach. That is how attention becomes cooperative instead of combative. Sequence your work and your storytelling this way and watch retention rise along with real progress. The mind stays where progress is easy to see and easy to continue. Build those beats and attention will keep choosing to stay. The boredom advantage here is the twist that most people miss. Boredom is not a signal to stop, it is a threshold to cross. When the task feels flat, the brain is telling you that prediction has outrun novelty. That is useful. It means energy can be directed with precision instead of chasing noise. Use boredom as a hinge. Keep the core task the same, then inject a micro-interrupt at set intervals to reawaken salience without blowing up focus. Think of it as breathing for attention. Steady engagement, small inhale of novelty, steady engagement again. The pattern is simple. Commit to 90 seconds of straightforward doing, then add one tiny change for 10 seconds. Then return. The change can be a shift in posture, a one-line reframing prompt, a quick glance to a distant point to relax eye muscles, a single tempo nudge in the background track. Small is the rule. Small keeps flow intact. Respect the physiology. Long stretches of sameness dull the orienting response. You do not need fireworks, just a crisp tickle to remind the system, this matters now. Use a repeating cue so the brain learns the cadence. A kitchen timer placed in peripheral vision. A metronome click lowered under the music that fades in for one beat every minute. A silent phone alarm with a haptic bump every 90 seconds. On the bump, do one of three things. Name the next micro-target in 7 words, clear one visual distraction from the desk, or change the writing or drawing tool for a single line. Then, back to work instantly. That is how boredom becomes fuel rather than quicksand. Turn monotony into a sharpening tool by narrowing the task lane. When the mind drifts, it is often because the lane is too wide. Shrink it with a constraint that feels like a game. Write only active verbs for 1 minute. Outline using only 3 boxes. Summarize a paragraph in 15 words. Sketch the solution with 5 straight lines. The constraint is not arbitrary. It is friction that creates texture. Texture gives the brain something to grip. Grip produces control. Control feels good. Good feelings keep attention home. If frustration spikes, ease the constraint but keep the lane defined. You are calibrating tension, not chasing hardship. Use boredom to clean noise that steals energy. During the next micro-interval, cut one open tab, hide the dock, silence one notification channel, or remove a single object from the visual field. Each deletion reduces background cognitive load. Less load makes steady work feel lighter, which delays the next boredom wave. When the wave returns, you already have a plan. It is not personal, it is a cycle. Meeting the cycle with a practiced pattern gives you ownership over the state rather than being bounced by it. Build a ritual that rewards passing the boredom gate. Mark the completion of each 2 or 3 cadence cycles with a visible token. A tick on paper, a counted bead, a tiny tally in the margin. This keeps a parallel stream of progress that is independent of the task content. When a tally exists, the brain sees accumulation, and accumulation is satisfying. Satisfaction is a stabilizer. It stretches the period before boredom reappears. Your goal is not to eliminate boredom, but to lengthen the useful plateau between novelty bursts. Protect the edges. The most common failure is turning the micro-interrupt into a macro-detour. The antidote is pre-commitment. Decide the 3 allowed interrupts before you start, and do only those. No browsing, no inbox, no rabbit holes. If the urge hits, park it in a single-line capture and return to the lane. At the end of the block, you can decide if anything on that list deserves attention. Most won't. The few that do will be clearer, because they were written without the heat of avoidance. Train this until it feels automatic. Boredom shows up, you smile inwardly, cue the micro-interrupt, feel the state re-energize, continue. No drama, no story. This is the quiet power move. It respects how the brain regulates attention and uses that rhythm to your advantage. When people think inspiration is missing, they often mean novelty is mismanaged. Now you know how to manage it. Keep the work steady, spice lightly, and bank visible wins. That is how bland turns into piercingly clear. That is how you move when the mood won't. And that is how the day gets saved one small, boring, beautiful interval at a time. The rule of one oddity. Here is a simple way to keep attention alive without scattering it. Add exactly one unexpected element to the scene or the process and let it carry the spark. One oddity is enough to wake the brain's orienting response while preserving focus. Pick a single prop, a single constraint, or a single switch in perspective, then hold everything else steady. Place a bright sticky note in the top left corner and aim to touch it with your pen after finishing each sentence. Wear headphones, but turn the music off and let the silence feel deliberate. Write with a thick marker for the first line, then return to your normal tool. The oddity is a flag that says this moment matters. It makes the familiar task feel newly navigable and keeps the lane narrow so progress stays smooth. The mistake is stacking novelties until the task dissolves into noise. Restrain the impulse. The power is in contrast. Let the oddity be salient enough to notice and stable enough to fade into supportive background as momentum builds. Choose something that creates a gentle friction you can push against. A timer placed in peripheral vision. A single word taped to the screen. Begin. A small desk trinket turned to face you only during work. The brain bonds these cues to doing. Soon, the oddity becomes a start button. Pressed once, it reduces hesitation and shortens the warm-up tax. Use the oddity to encode a micro-rule that neutralizes perfection. If polish traps progress, declare ugly first in ink at the top of the page. If drifting is the problem, cap each sentence at 15 words for the first minute. If avoidance is sticky, start each block by copying the task name by hand, then continue. The rule wrapped in the oddity is a compact between intent and action. It removes choice at the moment where choice creates drag. Less drag means more doing. More doing means a faster identity update from stuck to moving. Identity updates are addictive in the best way. Let the oddity travel across contexts, but keep it singular. Creative work. One colored card that holds the thesis for the next 90 seconds. Study. One index finger tracing the line as you read to force presence. Planning. One dice roll to pick which of 3 equally good options gets the first attempt. Fitness. One rep cadence said out loud for the first set. You are teaching the system to expect ease at the beginning via a tiny, tangible cue. Ease at the beginning compounds into depth later. Oddity starts it. Consistency grows it. When energy dips mid-block, rotate or remove the oddity once, then return to baseline. Turn the sticky note to a new color. Replace the marker with the keyboard. Tilt the lamp a hand's width. That single change is enough to refresh attention. If you switch more than one thing, you risk breaking the thread. Guard the thread. The job is to maintain just enough novelty to prevent stall while keeping the work obvious. Obvious is oxygen for momentum. Keep oxygen flowing. Close the loop by making the oddity a ritual that ends as clearly as it begins. When the timer hits 0, flip the sticky note down, turn the trinket away, cap the marker. Say started or done for this block. That visible end stamp feeds the reward system and signals the mind. This session counts. Sessions that count add up quickly. The more you see them, the less you chase a perfect mood, and the more you trust your switches. One oddity, one lane, 1 minute to start. That is enough to change the day. Stack and route. The win here is how to turn a spark into sustained momentum without losing clarity. As soon as the smallest visible win lands, tag it in plain language and route it forward. Say started, then write one short next step that a future version can execute without thinking. Keep that step so small it could be finished in 2 minutes. This handoff is the bridge that prevents stalls. Now stack a second micro-win immediately. Not bigger, just adjacent. If you name the file, write the first line. If you wrote the first line, outline 3 beats. If you outlined, draft the roughest version of beat 1. Progress compounds when each action makes the next one obvious. Obvious kills friction. Friction is where days disappear. Build a simple lane system to keep motion clean. Lane A is execution for 2 to 5 minutes. Lane B is capture for anything that tries to hijack attention. Lane C is routing, where you decide the next place this work should live. During execution, if a thought pops up, capture it in a single line in Lane B and keep going. When the timer ends, shift into routing. Either cue a next 2-minute block right now, pin a calendar time to return, or move the output to its home. Script doc, storyboard, task list, or playlist. The decision is the work. Unmade decisions leak energy. Make them fast and light. Momentum respects decisiveness. Use narrative cues to guide both the work and the viewer. Close each segment with a crisp payoff and an explicit bridge. Here is what just changed. Here is the next move worth doing now. Then show a few seconds of that next move starting on screen. This anchors the transition and raises the likelihood of continuation. When creating the video, point the end screen and cards to the most natural next step in the same problem space, not a random popular upload. Relevance beats popularity for keeping a session alive. The same rule applies to the workflow. Route to the next smallest action in the same vein while the flame is still warm. Protect momentum with endings that feel good to leave and easy to re-enter. Stop while there is still something tempting left to do. Then write that tempting step as the first line the next time opens. This preserves appetite and eliminates re-entry drag. Pair it with a micro-ritual. Breathe in, sip more air, exhale long, say paused, not done. Words matter. Paused keeps identity tied to motion. Done can trick the brain into shutting the door. You want the door ajar, the path lit, the next step labeled. Expand momentum horizontally only after 2 vertical wins. Horizontal means adjacent tasks or supporting materials. Vertical means deeper into the same thread. 2 vertical wins build enough confidence to handle branching without splintering focus. When branching, duplicate the same rules. Smallest visible action, time-boxed, routed at the end. If any branch starts to feel heavy, shrink the step, not the system. The system is what makes this light. End each work block by placing the output where the future will find it. Name files with verbs and dates. Tag notes with a single unique handle. Update a living outline with what was done and what is next. Momentum dies when output goes missing. Keep artifacts visible and retrievable. Visibility is motivation. Retrieval is continuity. Continuity is how projects cross the finish line. Now route the viewer with the same precision. If this chapter helped, the best next move is to apply it for 2 minutes right now. Then come back for the next chapter to lock in the habit. The door is open, step through it once more. Live on camera build. Here is where the talk becomes proof. Set a 90-second timer in clear view and say out loud what will happen. We are going to start, capture 1 visible win, and show the state shift as it happens. Stand or sit tall, inhale through the nose, sip a bit more air, exhale long, then place the cursor or pen exactly where the first move begins. Hit start. Name the file with a verb and noun. Say it. Started. Now write the first ugly line that states the outcome in plain words. No polishing. Keep the hands moving. When the urge to fix appears, mark it with brackets and continue. At 45 seconds, glance at the proof. There it is. A file exists. A line lives on the page. Identity updates in real time, from stuck to moving. That update is the real product of this minute. Reset the posture slightly and refresh one input. Nudge the lamp or raise the track by a notch, then outline the next 3 beats in fragments. Beat 1, what happens now? Beat 2, what happens after that? Beat 3, what must be true at the end? Say each fragment as it appears. Speaking locks focus and reduces rumination. Keep breath steady through the nose. The timer is still running. You are building on camera. No drama, only clarity. At 15 seconds remaining, close the loop for this minute. Finish the current sentence. Do not start a new one. Write 1 short line labeled next, so re-entry will be effortless when the next block starts. Momentum loves obvious. Stop the timer. Exhale long. Point to the output so the viewer sees what changed. This is the bridge. The system works because it rewards tiny completions fast. Say the status plainly. Started, first line written, 3-beat outline drafted, next step defined. Now stack a second micro block to prove repeatability. Set a new 90 seconds and commit to a single micro upgrade. Clarify the first beat with 1 supporting detail or swap the ugly line for a cleaner version without losing speed. Hit start again, hands moving immediately. If hesitation creeps in, count the first 5 seconds on the fingers to keep the body engaged. If energy dips, snap right, snap left, clap once, and return to the sentence. You are not chasing perfection. You are demonstrating a loop. Halfway through, narrate the feeling shift. Tension down, target clear, noise lower. Tie it to what you did, not who you are. You changed inputs, narrowed the lane, and manufactured a winnable step. That is teachable and repeatable. When 5 seconds remain, stop on purpose and breathe. Mark the second proof. Outline refined, first sentence cleaned, next action labeled. Place the file where it belongs, not on a desktop graveyard. Name it with a date and verb so the future finds it quickly. This is how progress survives between sessions. Now route the audience with precision. Invite them to mirror the exact sequence right now. Timer on. 1 ugly line, 3-beat outline, 1 next step. Say, start it out loud when the proof appears. The point is not inspiration. The point is ignition. Show that ignition is a choice, not a mood. When the loop is this small and this concrete, it stops being a trick and becomes identity. You did it on camera. They can do it on their desk. The door is open. Step through it again. Then meet in the next chapter to make this reflex permanent. 2-minute momentum engine. Here is how to turn a tiny start into a reliable engine that keeps pulling forward without drama. Lock a 2-minute window and treat it like a contract. The rule is simple. Do the smallest visible step for the full 2 minutes, then stop on purpose, even if there is fuel left. Stopping while it still feels easy trains the brain to crave the return, not to fear the work. This flips the expectation from fatigue to anticipation. Pick a step that is undeniably concrete. Write one paragraph, outline 3 beats, gather 1 source, sketch 1 frame, clean 1 data row, rename 5 files. Keep the scope bite-sized and win-proof. The point is to accumulate proof, not to chase a perfect mood. Set a timer and protect the block like a vault. No tabs, no notifications, no negotiations. If a thought tries to pull attention away, write a single word placeholder in brackets and keep moving. This stops detours from becoming delays. Start with a 1-line checkpoint that declares the micro-objective for the next 120 seconds. Saying it out loud sharpens intent and cuts rumination. Then move the hands immediately. Hands moving is the clearest signal that thinking has become doing. When momentum rises, resist the urge to widen scope. Narrow wins compound faster than scattered effort. The brain bonds with what is repeated and completed. Use a ramp and a runway. The ramp is the first 20 seconds. Breathe in through the nose, sip a bit more air, exhale long, then place the cursor where the work begins. The runway is the final 10 seconds. Finish the current sentence or stroke. Do not start a new one. This ending ritual matters. It protects energy and makes re-entry effortless because the next step is obvious. Momentum loves obvious. Pair the end with a quick status tag. Next action, 1 sentence. That becomes the launch key when the next 2 minutes begin. No spinning wheels, no warm-up tacks, just immediate motion. Calibrate difficulty to stay under the strain threshold. If 2 minutes feels heavy, shrink the task, not the timer. If it feels trivial, raise the challenge slightly within the same window. The aim is sustainable friction, not grind. A good test is breath. If breathing tightens, lighten the step. If attention drifts, add a micro-constraint like time-boxing a single sub-sentence, drawing a shape before words, or limiting choices to 3. Constraints remove indecision. Indecision is where energy leaks. Keep the lane narrow and progress stays smooth. Chain 2 or 3 of these cycles and count them as a set. Between cycles, take a deliberate 20-second reset. Stand, shake hands, look at a distant point, then refocus on the exact next move written at the end of the last cycle. This is active recovery for cognition. It preserves freshness without losing rhythm. After a set, pause for a longer 1-minute reset, then decide, continue for 1 more set, or bank the win and route to the next priority. Never erase the 2-minute frame. It is the metronome that makes discipline feel light and repeatable. Handle resistance with technique, not force. If the inner critic appears, thank it mentally and point it at the later review phase. If boredom shows up, switch the input slightly. New track in the same tempo, small change in light angle, tiny posture adjustment. If anxiety spikes, lengthen the exhale for 2 breaths and return to the hands. The engine runs on visible action and short horizons. Keep both in view. 2 minutes is the door. Walk through it often and it stops feeling like a trick and starts feeling like identity. Doers do. This is how doing becomes default. When the timer ends, stop clean, note the next micro move, breathe once, and decide with intention. Start another block if momentum is alive. If not, the win is banked. Wins stack into finished work, and finished is where motivation lives. Close the loop, open the path. Here is where progress becomes inevitable. You already sparked motion and captured proof. Now seal the win, then convert it into the next clear action so momentum survives the end of this chapter. State the status out loud. Started, proof on screen, next step defined. Place the output where the future will find it without friction. Name the file with a verb and date, park notes in a single living outline, and tag the exact next move at the top as a 1-line command. This isn't busy work. It is how the brain trusts the path and stops reopening the same decision. Trust reduces resistance. Reduced resistance makes tomorrow lighter before it begins. Give the mind a clean exit and a clean re-entry. Stop on purpose while something tempting remains. Write that tempting step as the first line the next session will execute. Close the scene with a physical stamp. Inhale, sip a little more air, exhale long, say paused. Pause ties identity to motion waiting to resume. Done can trick the system into power down. You want the door cracked, the light on, the first stone already laid. Leave a visible cue where eyes will land next time. Cursor placed at the next sentence, a box drawn for beat 1, a checklist line that starts with a verb. Friction is the enemy. Make re-entry frictionless. Route attention with the same precision you routed effort. Point to the single best next chapter that compounds today's gain. If this piece unlocked ignition, the next piece locks consistency. Offer a choice that isn't really a choice. Apply this for 2 minutes now, or watch the next chapter and double the effect. Then apply it. Either route protects momentum. Use language that assumes action. Say, start the timer and do the next micro step while the video continues. When viewers move as they watch, they stop postponing progress to a later that never arrives. That is the habit you are installing. See a step, take a step, mark a step, repeat. Strengthen continuity with a tiny scoreboard that survives between sessions. 1 tick per block, 1 line per win, while 1 timestamp per session. This turns scattered effort into a visible arc. Arcs invite completion. Completion is fuel. At the end of today's arc, capture a single sentence reflection. What worked, what to repeat, what to ignore. Keep it ruthless and short. Reflection tunes the loop without bloating it. The loop stays light, so it gets used. Guard the exit from leaks. The last seconds are where most derailments happen. No inbox, no feed, no browsing. End with intention, not drift. Close the document, pin the next block on the calendar, or set a reminder that uses the exact next action sentence as its text. When the reminder fires, you won't think, you'll act. That is how inspiration becomes a byproduct of structure. Now, open the path. Apply a 2-minute microblock immediately to bank a fresh win. Then move to the next chapter to scale this from a momentary reset into a daily reflex. The system is ready. The door is open. Step through it once more and let the day turn in your favor.